Hello and welcome. I am Dahlia. I'm the founder of Liberated Learning. I am a longtime educator, curriculum designer, restorative justice facilitator, social emotional learning expert, and also a somatic movement trauma-informed guide. And I weave all the learnings I've had across my life, across my educational experiences, my time in academia and receiving a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, because as a first-year teacher, I did not feel equipped to actually do the job of teaching in a colonial schooling system. And now, at this point in my work, I offer alternatives to what we've most likely known and experienced as colonial schooling. Now, we don't hear this term being referenced for the everyday public school we see in our neighborhoods, and it is the truth of what these buildings and institutions embody and continue to practice, even in progressive districts like Chicago Public Schools, where I taught. There is an theory part where we understand social emotional learning is powerful, restorative justice practices are needed, and we have yet to actually address the root problem of why schooling and education doesn't fulfill our souls or support our souls in the development of what's needed, because the actual institution itself was created and is still acting as a colonizing, indoctrination, cultural assimilation machine. This is not something that you need to take my word for. Go down your own little rabbit hole and let that curiosity guide you to what you need to see in order for it to land deeper in your bones and your mind, body, spirit connection. Liberated learning exists as an alternative to these harmful ways of going about education that we've been normalizing for our children, for ourselves, as teachers, as parents. It's nobody's fault. This is not to put blame on any one human. It is a systemic issue. And it has been since the inception of schools, which started with the forceful, violent kidnapping of Indigenous children and forcing them to go to distant boarding schools where they were traumatized, assimilated, haircut, identity distilled to a number, and treated awfully, horrifically, disturbingly. And it's this disturbing history that colonial education has wiped out by leaning on curriculum materials that are complete garbage. McGraw-Hill is complete garbage. What we've been taught to normalize is like, okay, this is the book, I'll read the thing and I'll read the script. And this is exactly what I felt in my first year teaching, which is exactly why I went back and got my master's in curriculum and instruction, because I was like, this truly can't be it. This truly cannot be actually what they want me to teach. And I found myself having to go out of my way to, as many teachers do, to also now take on another job. Not only am I a teacher, now I'm a curriculum designer, and I have to pull these free resources and sometimes pay for them so that I can actually teach and feel good about what I'm offering children. And even then, wasn't enough. And so now in this place I'm at in the work where I have space and time to actually develop the curriculum and actually develop the frameworks and the tools and the practices that we need in order to unravel the colonial mindset and the internal colonizer that we all have. No blame. It just is at this point. And B, move forward, evolve in a way, in a direction towards liberation, collective, individual and collective, and a reconnection also to the land we're on. This is all part of the colonial disconnections. The 4 huge buckets of disconnection we can begin to let ourselves marinate in and notice in our world, in our lives, in the way we speak, relate, act, think, be. Disconnection from our bodies. I could go on and on and on and on and on about this, and perhaps I will in another little thingy here. Disconnection to each other. How many of us are good at navigating conflict and difficult conversations? Right. This is strategic, by the way. Again, no blame. disconnection from our culture, our ancestors, our lineage, disconnection from the land, from the mother. It's painful. And now we flip it on its head and we practice reconnecting to these things through learning that is liberating, through learning that inspires us, that lights us up, that honors and respects the unique individual gifts that each human has and offers a pathway and guidance for sharing those gifts to community in a way that fulfills your soul and supports your needs. This is the vision. This is the practice. This is what we're doing here. This is what we're about. I've come to these understandings based in actual experience with children and parents and teachers and leaders. I've come to this knowledge and this curriculum I went through the trenches, pulled the gold nuggets when I could, and now they've synthesized and woven into this powerful curriculum that we get to lean into and utilize. Now, we have to reorganize what we consider as curriculum. Okay, this is for mostly my teacher people. We've been normalized that a curriculum is a set of books that gets plopped onto our desk, and we are to familiarize ourselves with said curriculum and then follow said curriculum exactly to the T, keep in time with the linear time structure, and if we fall behind, we did something wrong, we're to blame, we're not a good teacher. Are we hearing this? Right. So, with the Liberated Learning curriculum, it is structured and designed in such a way that is cyclical. We do not learn in linear structure. We learn in spirals, and all of life also spirals. Our healing spirals, our learning spirals, topics that we're interested will come back around. I used to play flute when I was in middle school, and magically a friend gave me a flute a few years ago, and now I'm playing flute again and picking it up like a natural. What is that? A learning spiral. And there's many more examples of learning spirals we can get into. The curriculum itself is designed in learning spirals. A learning spiral can be categorized as these 5 phases, and there is no time frame for needing to stay in one phase or the other. There's guidance. And if there is a moment where your learner or the group of learners you're working with needs to marinate more in the exploration because, oh my gosh, there's so many resources on this cool question, we allow that. The first part of a learning spiral is an inquiry, a question, a curiosity. What is here? Who am I? Who are we? Why am I here? Why are you here? What is this earth and human experience we get to have? And many, 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 many more inquiries, right? And then we spiral into an exploration phase. In the exploration phase, we allow ourselves to explore and discover. And, what's this? Ooh, what's that? Books and articles and websites and trips to museums. We explore. What's here within this inquiry, right? Then we lean into skill building. Okay, this is like maybe the part of the learning process that a lot of teachers are familiar with, right? Because we've been given standards and told this standard that you don't even understand and your students don't even understand. Yeah, you're supposed to make that happen. How it relates to actual lifetime skills that they're going to need in this modern age, we don't know, we don't care, but just do it. Again, are we hearing this? So we practice. The next phase is a practice. And here we hone in on the natural skills that are already emerging because life is an emergent experience. We don't force onto colonial mindset. And this might feel so far out, and just notice that. If what I'm sharing and describing, you're like, but how will we know? The colonized way of educating and being loves control. Loves micromanagement when it's impossible. Loves making things harder than they need to be through documentation and the written word, which is a tenet of white delusion, narcissism, or what some people call supremacy. worship of the written word. So there is a lot of uncolonizing that perhaps might need to happen before this fully digests in you. And that's okay. That's okay. This is the full opposite end of the spectrum. And not in an extremist way, in a way that just honors the human development, that honors also what we've known to work, what we've been guided to remember. This is not purely coming from me and my master's degree and experience. Yes, some of it, definitely. That's how I stumbled upon it. And it's also coming from ancient wisdom. It's not mine. It's ours. Ancient wisdom that runs through each person's indigenous history. If you trace back your line and you find the indigenous peoples that live in your blood, you might find a little splash and sprinkle of what I'm talking about within that. Practice phase, we dig into a skill. Okay, so this whole inquiry has been around baking because this 8-year-old child loves to bake, and that's just her thing right now, period. And so we explored different icing techniques. We explored different ways people have decorated cakes. And now here we are in the practice phase. What do? We bake the cake. We practice the icing techniques, right? We build the skill. One example, many different ways it can look. The next part, after we've practiced, we've gotten our hands dirty, we've actually experientially experienced, we reflect. And in this reflection, we allow ourselves to sit in stillness, to sit in silence, to sit with ourselves and practice I can't say the word. Does that ever happen to you when you're just like, the word is gone? The word is gone. Contemplative. I got it. Yeah, we do that. And we sit with ourselves. This can be writing, drawing, expression. I mean, it does not have to be sit and write 2 paragraphs. It can. It could be voice expression. It could be sharing with a friend. I mean, we really want to open up choice within the learning spiral. Because again, we are allowing that individual to practice, and this is a skill, choosing what is right for them. Choosing what feels most natural for them. This is a powerful skill in exercising the muscle of our agency. Agency is exactly tied to so many healthy and powerful aspects of life and liberation. Agency and liberation they go like this. Okay, they're besties. In order to choose and liberate ourselves each day within a world that is colonized, we have to actively choose what liberates us in the day-to-day. And that can be so different in the day-to-day. So it matters that we practice this. And we're offering space for children or adults to practice this when we trust that their system is intelligent enough to choose what works and will support them the best. We don't know it all. This is the other thing colonial education has got us twisted. And I am not the expert of an 8-year-old's life that I've just met for 2 months. The only life I'm the expert of is my own. When we act like we can control other people and force them into doing things that are not natural to their system, we are harming. We are harming. Now this is different because I can hear it already. What about my kid never wants to do math? So you're saying I should just never make him do math? No, I never said that. What I am saying, however, if there is a strong aversion to any kind of task, that is something to get curious about with that child. That is something to explore. So there's the inquiry. You could make it a whole learning spiral. Okay, we hate math. My inquiry here, why do we hate math? What happened that made us hate math? Was there an experience, a teacher, something? Maybe it's just that it feels hard. Why is doing something hard challenging for us. Is life always going to be easy, right? So we can explore this topic. And then the exploration is, how do we make math fun for you? What could we learn about? And this is where we open our mind and our eyes to see how math lives in our everyday life. Maybe they don't like math, but they like money. Do you want to have money someday? Do you want to be able to X, Y, and Z? You're going to need to know some math, baby. And we could start teaching budgeting at 7. Why not? Right. The last phase of the learning spiral is sharing. This is so important. We've gone through this whole experience, right? And caveat here, a learning spiral can be in one day. You can go through a learning spiral, or if you'd like, you can co-create it to be a month-long project, even a longer than that project. Because this is also based in project-based learning, experiential learning. We want to get our hands, minds, hearts, thoughts fully, deeply embedded in this topic so it can really sink. And interacting with this topic in the variety of ways that we are within the learning spiral, our neural pathways are strengthening. We are coming back and revisiting. Oh yeah, what was our inquiry? Oh yeah, we're talking about climate, right? Coming back and revisiting. This is majorly supportive to our development. This is majorly supportive to how we actually learn. It's scientific. We must revisit. And not only revisit in a sense of like, okay, do the worksheet. No, revisit in a sense that it is meaningful. What makes something meaningful? When that human gets to choose how it is experienced. So with the sharing, so you just learned like all these really cool ways to decorate cakes. So amazing. You also learned fractions, because cakes, fractions, math, hey, right? And you also learned science, baking, ingredients, mixtures, measurement, science, mathematics, hey, right? You also learned reading, because we got these cool cookbooks at the library. Notice how. And this is daily life, right? Because in our daily life, adults, we don't like, oh, okay, it's time for my math part of my work, and then it's time for my reading part of my work, and then it's time for my science part of my work. You know who invented subjects? Colonizers. That's why they don't make sense. That's why, let me not get into all that, but there's a whole rabbit hole there. I don't agree that we need so much compartmentalization of the subjects, because in one meaningful experience where we've allowed a child or adult to fully deepen into an interest, we see all the subjects come to life right there. And did we explicitly no, it was natural. So in the sharing, how do you want to share this? How do you want this to be experienced by your community? Our learning, and this is where we impart such a powerful lesson every time in the sharing. Our learning is not just for us. Our learning is for community. It's for the earth. It's for each other. And in that sharing, you become teacher. You become wisdom keeper and sharer, right? That experience is necessary in the development of all of us. So we went through a learning spiral. Bada boom, bada bing, bada ba. And there's more, of course. There's always more. But for now, that's enough. Let me know what questions you have, what thoughts are coming up for you, and more you want to know about this topic. There is a free learning spirals guide below, and also some learning spiral examples for you to continue to marinate in this and allow it to deepen into your being, so that we can begin to see learning spirals in all of our lives. This is not just for children. It is all of us. All of us go through learning spirals. And when you start to see how your interests and what you're guided to, your curiosity, that inquiry in the very beginning, guides you through this process almost intuitively, sometimes naturally, then it will start to click. Then you will start to see, this feels right. And that's what learning is supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel joyful, invigorating, exciting, creative. It's not supposed to suck our souls and leave us feeling drained, worthless, and that all we matter is our productivity and a really irrelevant score on a piece of paper. Okay. Love you so much. Until next time, take good care and stay liberated. Make a liberated choice today. Okay. Okay.